newcomers to Canada have, I mean, so many great things about their arrival in this country. But boy, when it comes to the job search, it can be exceedingly difficult, especially if you're in a part of the economy where there are credentials or where you've got prior work experience that you want to put to good use here. It's not easy. We're going to talk about some initiatives to help facilitate that transition for folks. Our conversation is with the CEO of Windmill Microlending, Claudia Hepburn, joins us. Hello there, Claudia.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
I hosted a workplace television show 20 years ago, 20 years ago, and we covered these issues back then. This has been something that people have been talking about, that sort of trope of cab driver who's also an anesthetist driving them around town. Just for context here, what would you say has changed in the last 20 years and what hasn't as it relates to skilled immigrants showing up and being unable to contribute fully in the way that they want to?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think one of the things that hasn't changed is the general philosophy among Canadian policymakers and among Canadians that our country benefits from having skilled immigrants come to Canada and put their skills to work in Canada. We're all, 1 or 2 degrees separated from immigrants, and so it's and there's still a majority of Canadians that as much as we've seen a decrease in support for temporary foreign workers and too many international students, there's still a strong majority of Canadians who believe that we need more doctors and nurses and engineers to come to this country and skilled tradespeople to come to this country and put their skills to work for the benefit of Canada. Unfortunately, another thing that hasn't changed is that it's extremely difficult to get the reaccreditation in Canada for qualifications that you've brought to Canada. So there are tweakings in different places. There are governments that are working on reducing the Canadian experience requirements and trying to simplify the processes. There are some professions in the pandemic we saw nurses, some governments making it free and removing the tuition requirements for nurses, internationally trained nurses, to get reaccredited. But it's a very complex system, and it's still really hard and very expensive and time consuming for skilled people to restart their careers in Canada.
The reason this conversation is happening is because I saw an ad for Windmill around a program you have for skilled immigrants. Tell us about what that program is and how it works.
Thank you. Yes, so we're a national nonprofit charitable organization that makes affordable loans to help skilled immigrants restart their careers. So we make loans to help people challenge their exams, to become reaccredited in their field, or to get professional development or other skills that they need to increase their incomes and thrive and prosper in Canada. We also provide wraparound supports to help people accomplish those things. So we provide financial literacy training, we provide career success coaching, mentorship, flexible repayment terms, and all kinds of digital resources to help people on their journey of trying to maximize their earning potential in Canada.
The word microlending is in your name. How do you define microlending? We're not talking about $200, but we're not talking about $200,000.
No, exactly. So we generally make loans up to $15,000. So generally they're between probably $2,000 and $15,000.
Not huge numbers. I mean, does that go to the academic institution, or does that go to, I can pay my rent while I cram for these exams?
It could go to either of those. So if you were coming to us for a loan, we would go through what your learning plan was, what your time, what exams you had to take, and then what your budget was to cover those things. Some people will come to us and say, I need the money just for tuition. And other people, we may talk them into, well, you know what, that's a really challenging exam. There's a 50% failure rate for that exam. And we think that you should budget some money so that you don't need to work your gig economy job for a month before that exam, so that you can focus on studying and passing that exam. So you're not going to throw away the money the money that you pay on spending on taking that exam. And
traditional lenders. Traditional lenders look at very specific things when they assess risk. They look at income, they look at credit score. As a micro lender, you microlenders tend to have a more holistic view, a broader set of criteria. How do you assess the risk that you're taking on that loan?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have a very comprehensive risk review and process, but we're also at the end of the day looking to how can we help? And is somebody who's applying for a loan, are they eligible for the loan and are they suitable for a loan? Because we don't want to lend money to somebody who's already in so much debt that more debt is just going to weigh them down and put them into consumer proposal or bankruptcy. We want to make sure that that by borrowing money, it's actually that the odds are in favor of them helping advance their lives and move and improve their quality of life in Canada. So we do look at Equifax scores like a bank does. We don't expect them to have a high income. Our clients are generally well below the poverty line when they come to us, but they have to have that drive and that learning plan that says, yes, I'm going to challenge these exams at this date, and I'm in a profession where we know that there are structural labor shortages.
What do the loan terms look like for the borrower? What's the rate? How quickly do you have to repay it? What if you don't?
Yeah, so we offer two different loan rates. One is for accredited healthcare professionals, which is lower, and one is for all the other professions, which is just above prime, a little bit over prime, and healthcare professionals is just under prime. So we do charge interest rates. If you were doing a course that was a month long, we would give you a month plus 90 days of interest only period, and then it would flip to interest plus principal. And so, and if you were doing a course that was 2 year long, it would be 2 years of interest only plus 90 days, then flip to interest plus principal. So our average loan is repaid in about 4.5 years.
And, if this was a bank, they take in deposits and they loan those deposits out in the form of loans or mortgages or whatever. This is not your structure. You don't take in deposits. So how is Windmill funded?
Yes. So we are funded. We are a Canadian charity. So we take donations from corporations, high net worth individuals, family foundations, community foundations, and those donations form the equity base of our lending. We then also have a community bond program. So we borrow from investors that want to put their money to work, both for a small financial return and a large social impact. So we offer a GIC-like rate of return. We benchmark it off RBC's GIC rate for a similar term, less 50 basis points to account for the impact. And those community bonds combined with the donated loan capital are what we lend out to our clients.
When you look out to the future, the idea is genius and everyone should have access to the program that you offer. When you look out to the future and you think it's 10x, what does it take to 10x? Is it access to capital? Is it access to qualified borrowers? What's the limiter that has this not be the biggest idea ever?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our loan capital is now 10 times bigger than when I joined the organization
Wow.
9 years ago. And my goal was to 10x the organization. So
well done, just in time.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have about $60 million outstanding. It would be fantastic to get it to 600 million. So so for me, the challenge is maintaining the access to the supply of funding at the same rate as the demand for clients. So we do have a fairly high cost of client acquisition because the government doesn't help us, communicate what our product is to skilled immigrants when they are coming into the country. That would be wonderful if we could reduce that friction in getting the word out to people before they come to Canada and when they're approved and are arriving in the country that our loans exist. So that friction in getting the word out is a big limiting factor. And then we used to have a lot more government funding, but when the government a year ago cut the immigration targets, the federal government, they also cut funding to the immigrant sector organizations. And so it's become harder to raise money to cover our operating expenses as well as our loan capital. So those two things are the key limiting factor.
Really interesting stuff. Claudia, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Claudia Hepburn is the CEO of Windmill Microlending, and we were having a conversation about skilled immigrants and a program to help them borrow to complete whatever accreditation exams would qualify them to work in the Canadian economy. It is smart, it is innovative, it makes tons of sense, and it really should be 10 times bigger. I say so.
And our average client more than triples his or her income as a result of about a $10,000 loan. So
Wow, that's a
find
bonus
a
little data
find a
point.
find an organization that's having a bigger impact than that.
Amazing. Congratulations. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.